How y'all doing tonight? We're going to do a little review of some headphones that I've purchased. Now, I've been deciding on a new pair of headphones for myself to wear to replace an old pair of Sennheiser headphones that I had. So, I've selected a few to try out, and I couldn't find a better review myself, so we're going to cover these tonight here. First, we have the Focal Spirit 1S, and we have the Focal Spirit Classic, we have the Focal Spirit Professional, and last but not least, a friend recommended trying these, the Audio Technica ATH-M50x. Now, I've listened to these all in stores, but I wanted to bring them home for a truly accurate listening test. Let's break these open. Now, these Focal Spirit 1S, as you can see, they come with this actually a very nice carrying case. It's got a little handle on them, which is pretty wonderful. Maybe a few pieces of paper in here and nothing else. Let's see what we got inside. All right, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. So we got an adapter. Looks like this is for two people listening or something. And we got the cord. And then we got an 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch adapter here. So they give you really everything you need to get started. There's a little carrying bag here if you don't want to use this case. That's pretty nice. And of course the headphones. Real nice feel to these. They're not as heavy as they look. Like they look like they're all metal. They're not all metal. It's plastic. And these are metal right here. So if you're used to like a Beats by Dre or some shit like that, they're definitely not as heavy. While I'm at it, I will mention that these are totally different, targeted for a different market than your usual Beats by Dre. This is a high quality headphone. So, not to knock anybody who really loves their Beats by Dre, but you know, this is a different segment. So, we're going to be testing these though, that said, on a cell phone, so that we can get an even test across all of them. So I plugged them in, and I'm going to listen to the same track on all of these. Get them adjusted as well. They do fit very comfortably. They're snug against my head when I get them on there, which is pretty nice. A lot of these monitor ones that I've tried out, the Audio Technica ones when I tried them on at first, have a very loose fit to them, which I wasn't too thrilled about. But we'll get to those in a little while. So we'll pick out a track here and give these a shot. Very, very strong in the low end, very bright highs. I mean, this is pretty ideal right now. I have absolutely no complaints after listening to these for a few seconds. I'm not going to sit here and bore you by listening to them for the next 10 minutes, but they're absolutely stunning. The cups fit great around my ears. Nice tight seal, so you don't have bass leaking out of there like my Sennheisers have begun doing. And I'm pretty pleased with these overall. I definitely consider keeping these ones. All right, let's get those out of the way. We'll move on to the next pair here. So these are the Focal Spirit Classics. I believe these have become a little tougher to get. If you look on Amazon, they're actually starting to sell out. So I'm pretty sure these might be the end of their life. They're definitely trickier to get out of the box, too. Really nice box these come in. This is like something you'd get a gift of wine in. You know, those like wine boxes people send? Really nice. These feel a little bit heavier. They're still not metal, unfortunately. Like, I really wish the cups on these were metal. They actually kind of, I don't know if you can see in the video, but these have like a brownish color to them. It's like almost a brown leather kind of cover. It's not actually leather, of course. So it looks like they give you the same set of accessories here, and there's something else in here. They give you a really long ass cable. This is a massive cable. I don't even know how long this thing is, but we'll assume it's just extremely long. So that's kind of cool because then you don't have to go buy one of those ones on Amazon for $5 that just falls apart every month. So let's give these a quick listen. First, I gotta say, while I'm picking out a track here, they have a very similar fit to the other Spirit headphones. These actually sound very similar to the other Spirit ones. They're I find them to be a little bit brighter, and yeah, that's about it. They're very similar though. Definitely a little brighter though. I mean, if you're into mastering music or anything like that, might come in handy. Flatter response curve on that, but yeah, really similar sound. Really similar sound. I'll be going back later and comparing these two head to head on my own time, and it's going to be a close one. Build quality, like I said, it's very similar between the two, and I would almost place these a little bit better, but you know, it might be partially this packaging too. This packaging definitely, when you open it, it kind of says these are high quality. The others definitely cheapened up a little bit. So they're pretty similar. Again, that was the Spirit 1S compared to the Spirit Classic. This is the Spirit Classic right here. So very, very similar headphones. All right, we're gonna move on to Spirit Professional here. Now these, a lot of my music friends are really into these. They use them in the studio as well as for their own listening, and they say it's a little more accurate in reproducing the sound. So I would expect these to be probably harsher than the other Spirit ones. The packaging is the same kind of box as the last ones, the Spirit Classics. And as you can see, opening it up, it's actually like an identical layout in the box. So now these have a totally different finish on them. If you're into that, it kind of reminds me of like headphones in the 80s or something, or I don't know, like various other electronics in the 80s. They have this like rough texture to it. Still not metal, but otherwise these feel almost identical. The top has a sharp edge on it, which is a little bit different than the others. So these come with similar accessories. There's a coiled cable in here. The other one was not, and a pouch too. So pretty similar. Let's give these ones a listen. I might add too that the plugs on these, the end designed to go into your phone or whatever you're listening to, CD player, who owns those anymore, is pretty wide. So if you look at this, it does stand up a little taller and a little bit lower than it does in my phone. I have a Samsung Note 5. Now, that's kind of weird because if you put it on a table, your phone's going to rock around, it's going to slide around. So just a note for some of you people out there, if that's going to be something that drives you nuts, if you're going to be in that sort of situation, then you know this is just something to point out. Let's give these guys a listen. So these are really similar, but they're kind of what I expected, where they're not as heavy in the low end. You can tell they definitely emphasize the lower frequencies more in the consumer models compared to the Pro ones. They're a little bit brighter up top, just a little bit. You can definitely tell it's flatter across the curve. You know, I could, like I said, I could see these for mastering. I have some friends who use them for mastering, and I could see why. They're not hugely different, but you know, you could use these for listening as well. I mean, you could do both purposes with it for sure, but it's noticeably less bottom end on these. It's pretty distinct. So that said, I mean, I do like the look of them. I love the finish. I love how they're all black. You know, I'm the kind of guy, like, I like black clothes, black this, black that, and it fits that style well. I don't know if these are available in any other finishes. I didn't see any when I was shopping. So let's put these away, and we'll move on to a totally different brand here. We're going to try the Audio Technica ones. Now, I have listened to these before in the past, and I actually like them a lot. It was, you know, the reason I didn't buy some before was I didn't really care for the build quality. So already the box is definitely less money spent on the packaging. I mean, you're going to use the headphones, not the box, so that's not a huge deal, but it kind of says something about what's inside. Now, these are pretty highly regarded amongst some music producer type people, and they're definitely a fan of these. So they give you, it looks like 2 different length cables here and a coiled cable. So we're just going to take the little short guy out here first. I mean, that's kind of nice if you're the kind of guy like me who doesn't want bunches of cables hanging all over the place, especially if you're wearing these and you got to, you know, walking through a city or anything. And you don't want cables hanging out. Like, it's nice that they give you a couple lengths. So let's give these a shot and try them on to see how they feel. They're about what I remembered. They're a lot lighter. These are brand new. The ones I've tried on were actually a friend's, and they'd been used for a while. And I'll be honest, they were a lot more beat up and a lot looser. Like this, you know, there's a little bit of resistance when these twist, and it feels really nice. It feels really new. But I can tell you from a pair that's been aged and used heavily that they don't age that well. I don't know how the Focals age or how they wear in time, but these will definitely show wear over time. They'll have nicks and scratches, and they'll be all loosened up and everything. So let's give them a listen, though. Most important thing here. I gotta say, these are extremely bright. They really bring out the top ends of whatever music you're listening to. This is something I've known before when I've listened to them. This is something that my music friends who do production say is very common with these, very known about these. They definitely bring out the top end more. It's tougher, it's harsher to listen to if you're just gonna put these on and ride around town or anything, or sit on your couch and listen. It's definitely a lot harsher, but they're not so harsh to the point where you couldn't listen to them. It definitely brings out, there's some claps in the song that I was just listening to, and you hear those a lot more, it's a lot more pronounced with these than they were with the Focals. A lot more obvious in there. So that said, I mean, these are, like I said, probably more suited to somebody who's working on music rather than somebody who's just doing casual listening. Especially if you're taking them out into the world, like I said, you're going to get kind of beat up, and they're going to show that wear. Now, I don't have exact MSRP in front of me right now, but I do know these are substantially less money than the Focals. These, I believe, retail for around $160, $180, under $200 range. The ATH-M50x. There's a couple similar models, but this pair retails for under $200. The Focals stretch as high as $400. So, I mean, for half the money, that's not a bad bargain at all. So that said, between any of these, which would I choose? You're probably waiting for my opinion. I'm going to have to give these all a little more of a fair listen. The Focals are pretty close to one another. The Pro ones, let me just dig those out again to show you. The Spirit Professional, I would probably not pick because I don't want to pay the extra money. Me not doing any music production, I'm just doing casual listening. I'm probably not going to pick these just because they are brighter up top and they do lack that bottom end. It's a flatter response curve. It's going to sound great if you're working on music, and it's going to be pretty critical to that. but it just doesn't have that, it's not totally adapted to the consumer, which it's not designed to be, which is perfectly fine. But I wouldn't pay the extra premium for that given what I'm going to be using them for. If you're the kind of person who prefers average consumer headphones and you're looking to move into something a little bit better, if you have a pair of Beats by Dre, Soul, any of those sort of things, or any other consumer grade headphone, Bose, you're probably going to be kind of disappointed with these as well as the Audio Technica, because it's going to be a completely different sound than what you're used to. I would definitely recommend going into either one of the consumer grade Focal headphones. Either one of these is going to give you a much closer experience to consumer headphones that you might be used to, and be much higher sound quality. You know, I know you're probably trying to move into something nicer, but this will give you something nicer without delivering an experience that you're not accustomed to and you're not really looking for. I'll definitely be picking between these two later, giving each some extensive listening and deciding between them. I do believe, I may be wrong in saying this, the Spirit Classic is the most expensive. I think that's the $400 one, whereas the Spirit 1S, I'm pretty sure, was the least expensive in the Focal line that we've tried out today. And the Pro one, I'm pretty sure, fits somewhere in the middle. So that said, I mean, it's going to be a tough call. I do like the Classic a lot, but it might not be worth almost double the cost. So that said, I'll let you make your own decision, and thanks for joining us today for this review. What's up, guys? We're here for part 2 of this review of all these great headphones. I actually borrowed my friend's studio here. We have a better DAC here, a lot better equipment, and a lot better sources to listen to than my cell phone used in the previous test. Now, as you can see in the last test, I took about 10 seconds to listen to each pair of headphones because it was more of just an unboxing video. In this part, I took an actual time, went through several tracks, different genres of music, and probably spent about half an hour with each pair of headphones individually. So I just want to walk you through them and tell you exactly how each one turned out. So we're going to start with the Focals, and we're going to do this in a similar order to the last video. So one pair here, the Spirit 1S, they perform very well, but as the least expensive pair in the entire lineup here, they were my least favorite. There's nothing terribly wrong with them. They're great for the casual listener, and it's something that a lot of people enjoy on a daily basis. But we found them, after much listening, depending on the track, to have just muddy bass, really heavy bass at times too, which is typical of a lot of consumer headphones. It makes it kind of sound exciting, but it's more of an effect than accurately listening to your favorite songs. The highs are pretty lacking compared to the other headphones that we touched here. And as we went through them, these were really cut off up top. If you listen to a lot of vocals, any music with a lot of drums or anything, you're going to notice that these are just lacking something up top. Great headphones still, don't get me wrong. If you want to spend under $200, it's still a great buy. Moving along here is something a little different. These are the Focal Professional, the Spirit Professional. And there's definitely a place for these, and it's definitely a little bit of a different place. This is not for the casual listener, but it's more for the person who works in a studio, works on music, does a little bit of mastering, mixing, and wants something they can maybe take with them on the road to enjoy their favorite tracks too, and serve a dual purpose. These are definitely lacking in the bottom end more. You're not going to get as hard-hitting bass that you want when you're just listening to your favorite music, when you're not concerned about accuracy. But these will give you a nice, accurate sound. And if you want to hear your favorite songs as they're written and hear every flaw in it, you're going to get that with these. Compared to the other ones, if you're listening to an MP3 or anything, you're going to hear the compression in it. You're going to hear, you're going to hear distortion in it. It's going to come out. You're going to notice it, and it might bother you a little bit. So if you go with any of the other ones, except the Audio Technicas, which we'll cover in a minute, if you go with any of the other ones, you're not going to notice that as much as these, which is, like I said, nice for any of us normal listeners, unless you're working on music. Don't get me wrong. This does not mean that these are better in any way. So it's a little bit more money than some of the other models. But for casual listening, any listening aside from working on music, these probably aren't the ones. But if you're working on music, they're definitely a cool pick. And the finish on these was extremely popular with everyone I showed them to as well. Moving on to the Focal Spirit Classic here. Just disconnect the cable. These were our favorites. These won by far. Everyone that listened to them loved them. Pretty consistent opinions across the board. They really revealed almost as much as the professional Focals, but without the harshness. They brought out a really hard-hitting, strong bass. It wasn't as muddied as the Spirit 1S, and it goes all the way up top. You can hear everything. Vocals sound wonderful. You're going to love these. This is when you listen to these, you feel like you're listening to your favorite songs, and you're hearing them how, as a consumer, we feel they should be listened to. You're absolutely going to love these. If you're going to spend $500 on some Beats by Dre or any other generic consumer headphone, definitely take a look at these, and I think they'll surprise you. It's not a real flat sound like a lot of headphones in this price range might have, or professional ones would have, but it's pretty close to flat, and it just emphasizes the right frequencies to give it a little more, a warmer sound. You're going to love these. These are $400, and these are definitely the ones that I am personally going to be keeping in my backpack from now on. Now, moving along here, we do have a pair of Audio Technica headphones. Now, these were totally different, and they really surprised us in what they could do in a studio environment. After listening to several songs on here, with the exception of some Pink Floyd tracks, these are not going to be what you want for everyday listening. They're just too harsh. They fit well, they're comfortable and everything, but they just don't have that sound that you would be looking for every day. They're going to start hurting your ears. You're going to get fatigued from them after you've listened for maybe an hour or so, and they're more meant for studio use. You'll hear everything up top. Everything will be revealed. You'll hear, like I said, all that compression in your MP3s or Spotify, anything like that you choose to listen to. You're going to hear every little, all the distortion in music that you might not have heard before. They're really revealing compared to the professional one. My friends who do work on music and do mixing and mastering, they did point out that these have a great spot for vocals. And I can agree. Every track we listen to with vocals in there, even current Justin Bieber tracks, those really shine on these. They're really, really great for that. So if by some chance someone's watching this and you do work on vocals, you interact with a lot of singers recording, then these might be for you. Take a listen at them. They're not going to shine in various other departments as much. So, definitely compare them. But if you're working on vocals, these are absolutely stunning. These by far beat all of the Focal ones when we did our Pink Floyd tests. They really just brought everything out in there. It was pretty wonderful. But otherwise, I would definitely pass on these. For half the price of some of the Focals, though, they're a great bargain. I mean, if you're an amateur and working on music, or even a professional, this is definitely something you should consider having in your arsenal. Now, all this said, I did bring it back to my original pairs of headphones that I'd had before, and I was truly stunned. It blew them away. I had a pair of Sennheisers and a pair of Shure in-ears from a few years ago, some SE 530s, I believe. And I never thought I'd beat them with any headphones in my price range, in this whole price range, under $500. But these Focals here have definitely taken the cake. Again, this is the Focal Spirit Classic, and after going back and forth to my trusty in-ear Shures, I can definitely say these reproduce all the sound, all the music that I listen to better. I'll be keeping them. I'm absolutely thrilled with them, and I highly recommend these. They're absolutely wonderful. Now, just to help out, if you don't want to spend $400, what should you buy next? What's the second best one? Aside from that, if you can tolerate a little bit of harshness in your music, I would say the professionals. But other than that, don't disregard the Spirit One or the Spirit 1S's. They are still wonderful. If you want to save a buck, I would probably choose these as second place for a casual listener, and then the Pros for somebody who's a little bit more into music production and willing to hear the flaws in music. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of these headphones. All recommended, but the classics, those are the ones to take home with you. So thanks for joining us today, and enjoy your new set of headphones when you pick your pair up.